Before today's reading of the scripture, I wanted to give you a little background on the story of Esther. It takes place during a time when the Jewish people were living under exile during the Persian Empire. A young Jewish woman, Esther, had been chosen to be queen for Xerxes, and she did not let him know her true heritage as a Jewish woman. Meanwhile, there was a powerful official named Haman. He was plotting to destroy all the Jews in the empire, and Esther's guardian, Mordecai, urged her to use her position as queen to plead forth to the king to save their people. However, even with her position as queen, she could still be sentenced to death for approaching the king without an audience. Esther chapter 4, 10 through 17 is what we'll be reading today. Esther instructed Mordecai that all the king's officials and all of the people of the royal provinces know that for any man or woman who approaches the king in his court without being summoned, the king has but one law, that they would be put to death unless the king extends his golden scepter to them and spare their lives. But 30 days have passed since Esther was called to go to the king. When Esther's words were reported to Mordecai, he sent back the answer, "Do not think that because you are the king in the king's house, you alone of all the Jews will escape. For if you remain silent at this time, relief and deliverance for all the Jews will arise from another place, but you and your father's family will perish. And who knows but that you have come to the royal position for such a time as this?" Esther then replied to Mordecai, "Go gather all the Jews who are in Susa and fast for me. Do not eat nor drink for 3 days, night or day, and I and my attendants will fast as you do. When this is done, I will go to the king, even though it is against the law, and if I perish, I perish." So Mordecai went away and carried out all of Esther's instructions. This is the word of the Lord.
Thanks be to God.
Good morning. Can you hear me? Hi, I'm Julie Pittman. If you don't know me, I'm the daughter of Marlon and Holly Pittman. Just so you know, I'm a senior at Franklin Central High School, and I'm giving the sermon today. My idea for this reflection came to me as I was in the bathroom, as most of my good ideas do. I had just arrived at work after having an after-school adventure to Wendy's. An hour before this, me and my best friend Avery were in the parking lot leaving school after going to art club. Of course, teenagers cannot end the day without having a little treat, so I asked, "Where do you want to eat?" He goes, "Wendy's?" And I say, "Okay, Wendy's on Post?" And he responds, "What?" I say, "Wendy's on Post Road, like over there." And still confused, he's like, "Where is that?" And so I sigh and I respond, "Okay, let's just go to Greenwood. I'm going there for work anyway." And so we leave, and he's following my car on the way there, and it's going pretty smoothly until we're on Southport and Emerson. I'm in the lane to go straight, and as the light turns green and I'm halfway across the road, I realize, shoot, I am taking the least efficient way to go to Wendy's right now. I need to turn around, because all of a sudden it matters to me that I'm taking the most direct route. And so we turn around in a McDonald's parking lot, and I make it through out onto the light onto Southport. He, however, does not, so we regroup in another McDonald's parking lot. Our windows are rolled down, and he says, "Do you know how hard it is to follow you?" And if you're a parent of a teenager or young adult, you might have heard this phrase before, but I reply, "Bro, just trust. I know how to get there. Just trust." And so we finally arrive at Wendy's, and we're at the counter ordering. The front counter guy who was helping us was very clearly on the autism spectrum, but we didn't get this until about 5 minutes into him messing up our order. But I want you to know this was one of the most pleasant experiences I've ever had with a fast food employee. This guy was hilarious, and even though he was definitely on the struggle bus that day, he really just made the most out of it. I asked for ranch, and he threw like 10 packets on the table. Among the countless crazy and funny things we experienced in the 30 minutes we were at that Wendy's, me and Avery just sat there and laughed, and I said, a little half-jokingly, you know, God led us here. God led us to Wendy's in Greenwood because you didn't know how to get to Post Road. God made us mess up the route. God led us to this Wendy's, yes, this Wendy's, to meet this crazy fast food employee. Avery and I are both agnostic. However, we both agree that there's some kind of force keeping this world together. Avery, who is going to Purdue for physics, often tells me that there are too many perfect things in this world for there to be no being or force making it this way. How is it that there's a mathematical explanation for how everything works? Earth is in the perfect window between the sun and the outer solar system for life to exist, and that our heads fit perfectly into the crook of someone else's neck when we hug. To us, this concept is wildly fascinating, although we're hesitant to put a name to it. One thing we do love to call this concept of perfection and forces in our universe is gravity. The name Gravity comes from one of our favorite shows, JoJo's Bizarre Adventure, which is a very long and complicated series, but the character from who this concept comes from is a priest named Poochie. Poochie frequently talks about this concept of gravity throughout the series. Gravity is not just the physical, scientific force that ties us down to Earth, but a metaphysical one, a kind of universal pull that draws people and events together. He believes that this gravity is what leads people towards their destinies. Although I'm not necessarily a believer in fate, I do personally subscribe to this theory of gravity. Whether it be God or anything else, I do believe that there's a universal divine pull and connection between us, other people, and events. There is a reason you chose to take this path instead of the other. And believe it or not, there is a reason you chose to eat pizza instead of tacos, whether that's related to your stomach issues or something else. Now, I will say that I don't know why. God's plans and reasons are often unknown to us, but I can say that His are greater than our own. In Esther's story, this concept of gravity is applicable. Esther is pulled into a larger plan she didn't initially choose. Despite her hidden identity as a Jew, her position as queen and her courage are inevitably necessary for the salvation of her people. Beginning as a passive figure, beautiful, obedient, and concealed, she's placed in the Persian palace for a reason not originally clear. She does not completely understand how or why she's in this position, but as she rises from orphan to queen, it's unraveled that every decision and every coincidence is the result of divinely orchestrated gravity. Though her purpose is not revealed until the moment she speaks up to the king, God and gravity are pulling her towards her transformation. There are so many parts to this story that aren't emphasized, like the mentorship from Mordecai, the theme of hidden identity, and also the conflict from being in a position of power but going unrecognized because of your status as a woman. I want to emphasize that our life is very much like this story and that it has multiple moving parts. Personally, I don't know about you, but when someone asks me, "How's it going, Julie?" I respond, "I'm alive," or some other combination of "I'm good." There are so many other parts to my story that I can't just throw them all at you, but Esther and her story are not far off from our own. Despite our struggle for courage, our collective fight for justice, and the importance of our own identity, these themes in our life are not separate. They're woven together. I've been going to this church since I was 6 and been in this youth group for a significant amount of my teenage life. There have been paths taken, roads avoided, and rivers crossed. And youth group has been part of some of my more challenging experiences, but also some of my most rewarding ones. Being a part of this and also Mandy Holzhausen are two of my biggest blessings right now. But even through the chaos of being alive in the 21st century, I truly believe that I was led here and you were led here for this moment. So the next time you're like, God, how did I get here? God, why me? He says, and who knows but that you have come to this position for such a time as this? There is a universal pull, divine intention placing you here at the right time. What if you're here in this exact moment for a reason? What if this is your purpose? Your timing isn't an accident, and I implore you to open your eyes and your ears and your heart to these moments where God and gravity is pulling you towards that person, towards that place, or towards that decision. Be ready to listen and ready to move. Like Esther, listen to this universal call and trust in the path that's unfolding before you. Thank you.